So I wanted to demonstrate a technique for retouching called the split frequency technique. I have this outlined in my notes as well, so you can actually refer to that, but just to demo what it would look like and the steps that you go to do this. So the first thing that we would do is duplicate the layer twice. To duplicate the layer, you can drag and drop it onto the new layer icon, otherwise Command J is the quick key for it. And we're going to create two layers on here. The bottom layer we're going to name LF for low frequency, and the top layer HF for high frequency. I'm going to turn off the high frequency layer, and now I'm just working on the low frequency layer, and I'm going to apply a Gaussian blur on here. So I go blur, Gaussian blur. The exact amount is going to vary. This is quite a low resolution JPEG image. I have the radius set to 8 right now, which would be about right. It's just really where you start to see the colors blur. You know, you could probably push it a little bit further, not too much, but for a higher res image you'd be probably around the 15 to 30 mark for it in terms of the radius. So I'm just going to click OK to that. Now I want to work on my high frequency layer. So the low frequency layer is where we're going to correct tone and color, and the high frequency layer is where we're going to correct the blemishes and allow skin texture to show through. So this is a technique that I use if I want a much more natural retouch. So we need to go to the image menu, and I realize that this is outside of the screen capture, but you go to the image menu and choose apply image. So here's the apply image dialog box. Now the image that you apply, when it first opens up, it's probably going to be set to whatever your last settings were. It may look something like this. From the layer menu, you're going to choose your low frequency layer. It may default to just showing you your high frequency layer, but you need to choose LF or low frequency here. So this is your blurred layer. Channel you can leave the same. Where it says multiply, you're going to choose subtract. And the settings for subtract are going to be a scale of 2 and an offset of 128. Now this is for an 8-bit image. If you're using a 16-bit image, you'll need to use different settings. The blending mode would be set to add, the scale would be set to 2, and the offset would be 0. Again, I have this in my notes. If you don't know whether you're using an 8-bit or a 16-bit image, you can always check that under the image mode menu in Photoshop. Okay, so this is what our high frequency layer should look like. So on the high frequency layer, we're now going to set this to linear light. Okay, so on your blending modes and your layers, choose linear light. And we're going to use our cloning stamp. This is our cloning stamp here. And we want all the settings to be normal, so normal mode, opacity 100, flow 100. The only thing that you'll need to change will be that this must be on current layer. Sometimes you may have it on all layers or current and below. This must be on current layer to work with this. This is now ready for us to clone out any spots. So make sure you're still on your high frequency layer. Hold down the Option key to set your clone sample, and you can just click to cover up any blemishes, any spots, and you'll see that it does a really good job of this. It doesn't blend pixels in the way that the healing brush does, so some people choose this method over actually using the healing brush. It's entirely up to you. I find the healing brush quicker. So if I'm getting good results with the healing brush, I would use that. Having said that, once you have this all set up, you can always set it up as an action, and this will allow you to just apply it very, very quickly and do a very fast retouch on here. So once you've taken out all the blemishes on the skin, and I haven't taken out every single one, but I don't want the screen recording to get too large. Then you go onto your low frequency layer. So you click on your low frequency layer. What this enables you to do is you can now even out the skin texture. So here I have a little bit of unevenness. I have dark circles under the eyes. It's going to take a combination of this and taking out some of the lines that are on here. So you'll see how I do it. With your cloning stamp, now I want to actually lower the opacity on it. I'm going to put it around 30. It may need to come down even further than that, just whatever works. And I need to make sure that I clone from an area that's going to relate to where I want to clean up. I can change my brush size, and I can just paint in to cover up any areas where I'm getting some unevenness of skin tone. So in particular under the eyes, you can see that it's lightening that up. There's some in here too. I'm going to do several passes on this and even under here, and you can see that it's still leaving all the lines and texture in. What it's really correcting is the colour and the darkness on there. I'm also going to do around the nose and lighten that up, just in here as well. Once I've got the colour about where I want it, I can go back to my high frequency layer. I'm going to reset the opacity to 100%, and now I'm just going to take out these lines and just minimize them where I can. Be careful about clone samples. That's where you can actually see a repetition of pattern. So anywhere where you get those, you want to cover them up. I want to take out some of the lines on here. I want to take out a little bit of the skin texture in here. So basically our high frequency layer allows us to adjust skin texture. Our low frequency layer allows us to blend skin tone. So now if you look at my original and then my retouched version, you can see that her skin tone still looks very natural. It doesn't look blurred. There's nothing very strange about it. Yet I have gone and cleaned up a lot of that without changing very much in terms of what she looks like. So this is a very natural way that we would retouch. It's called the split frequency method. And for a lot of retouching, especially of portraits of people, like studio portraits, you would use that.